What is going on, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. I wanted to cover some of the current events that have happened today, some of the most important. Remember that we actually have a bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that's going to be on this video. It's going to be available over on marfooglenews.com. Also, I just want to point out that all of these, again, will be over on the website tonight, over on Marfoogle TV, over on our sister channel. This is a short shareable video, so make sure to go share this out with friends and family. There's a lot going on. Myself and my peers have been telling people to get ready for, some sort of event on the horizon that's coming. I personally think that we are headed into a war, and it's not something that, obviously media is pointing out like these things are all a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that a war is what they want, and I believe that the people at the very top, and I know this sounds crazy, that they do want this. Through war, they're able to make drastic changes to everything around us and do it very quickly. I also want to point out, if you are following what they are saying that they will do to us in the next 10 years and how our life is dramatically going to change, with people like Klaus, Mr. Schwab, basically saying it right out in the open, saying that the world will be drastically different in just 10 years from now, that we will not recognize the planet that we live on. So I want to point that out. Whether there's a war, a conflict, a tsunami, disaster, Yellowstone, either way, it's going to be catastrophic in its own way, because it's not going to be the same life that we have right now. That's a promise, and that's sadly one that I hate that I have to make. China warns of retaliation against U.S. entities in the balloon saga. So it apparently they want some sort of revenge, or they're saying that they're going to vow some. It says that China warned that it will retaliate against the U.S. over violations of its sovereignty, potentially escalating a lingering dispute just as top diplomats from both nations plan to attend a security conference in Germany. At a briefing on Wednesday, Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin repeated Beijing's view that the Chinese balloon downed by a U.S. jet off the coast of South Carolina this month had inadvertently floated over the country, and after it was blown off of course. He criticized the Xi administration decision to take it out and said that the move would have consequences. So they're saying it will have consequences. We don't know if that will be some sort of cyber event that's then covered up the next day, or if that's going to be a tariff, or whatever it may be, or it may be something more serious, or it may be nothing that, we don't even notice what happens, right? Or the, exchange, the kicking out of a diplomat or something. But it says that China is strongly opposed to this and will take countermeasures against relevant U.S. entities that have undermined our sovereignty and security to firmly safeguard our sovereignty and legitimate rights and interests. Some of the 10 U.S. balloons that Beijing traveled over China since May last year passed over Xinjiang and Tibet, Wang added. Those are two regions in China's far west where the government is accused by the U.S. and other nations of human rights violations against its minorities. That, of course, is what Beijing denies. So with everything that is going on with China, of course, there's been a lot of weird events going on in their country. They are hoarding like we have never seen before. Obviously, other countries we covered last night, Japan is actually now basically building up their military overnight. The thing is that they changed their constitution so they would be an offensive country instead of a defensive country. In fact, their Japanese self-defense force, or whatever they call it, was essentially a military that would only respond if they were directly attacked. Now they're going to be an offensive country. They have changed all of their funding. They have put a lot of money. They went from not being in the top 10 as far as military budgets to being in the top 5. So that's pretty insane, considering they're on the other side of Taiwan from China. As far as, all of these balloon things, most people at this point are believing that this is a massive distraction. At the same time, we'll talk about the stream. We'll talk about that here in a second, the pipeline, which is absolutely nuts. Denmark and the Netherlands roll back decision on the transfer of Leopard 2 tanks, aka Leopard tanks, to UKR. According to Welt, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said that the only tanks Amsterdam could provide, in theory, were 18 Leopard 2 tanks leased to the country from Germany. Both countries decided that these tanks were not available for UKR, and it says in Danish government circles, the newspaper was told that they have 44 tanks of the most modern Leopard 2A7 model, but will not participate in the supply. However, both the Netherlands and Denmark have committed financial resources to refurbishing 100 Leopard 1 tanks in German warehouses. What this means is it sounds like Netherlands and Denmark are now backing out. They're like, no, we're not going to give you the new stuff, but we will give you some money to basically fix up these really, really old ones, and you can have those. You could take this multiple ways, but many people are looking at this and thinking that they are saving their tanks for some sort of conflict in the future that they may get involved in themselves. You'll see many of these countries right now they're basically pulling support. And from what mainstream is showing you, it looks like, everybody's going to pull out on UKR and leave them hanging. Well, it doesn't seem like that yet. It just seems like they are keeping the really good stuff for themselves. That to me, I believe, this is my personal belief, that a lot of these countries actually know what's about to happen, and they are trying to save and hoard and do all of these things because they expect something in the near future. And then the U.S. signs contracts worth more than $1.5 billion for the production of ammunition for UKR. Now, other than that headline, and of course this crazy number that we're going to be spending on basically arming UKR again, we've already sent billions and billions of dollars and average $11,000 per taxpayer money. Now they're basically saying that they're going to have this certain company, defense firms Northrop Grumman Systems and Global Military Products, basically make new shells for them and a new contract of $1.5 billion. So people are pretty pissed about that. And then Russia is to call a UN Security Council meeting over the Stream blast, the pipeline. If you remember, that was something that nobody really wanted to talk about. It says that Russia is going to try to call a meeting on the UN Security Council on February 22nd to discuss, quote, sabotage of the Nord. It says the Russian mission to the United Nations said on Wednesday, according to the state-run RIA news agency. U.S. investigative journalist Seymour Hersh, if you guys know that name, Pulitzer Prize-winning author, ended up writing that blog, essentially accusing the people here of attacking the pipe there. So that is a huge story. In fact, some said it was the biggest story that we've ever seen because it would have been basically a T attack done by the people here and against another ally, essentially because of where the pipes were headed. So that is, of course, why Edward Snowden and a lot of my peers, of course, are saying that, all of these balloons are like, hey, look at here. And what these balloons also do is they give the White House and everybody else a reason why to call everybody in, call press, and have these constant press releases like, there's a new octagon here, there's a new square here. Meanwhile, everybody is so infatuated with this story that nobody is actually questioning, like, hey, what about that story that came out a week ago that, basically just blew right over? So, again, I don't know what Seymour ended up writing was true, but that's what people were guessing for a very long time. And what he did is he put together exactly how it could have been done, and he says that's how it was done. Of course, Russia itself said that, hey, look at this, look at what he wrote. That's what we think happened. It should be paid attention to. By the way, that is an act of war. So that's something that if whatever happens in the orchestrated circus we're in right now, and that ends up being something bigger, it could get us in a conflict with Vlad. And then a Black Hawk military, basically in other news, Black Hawk military helicopter crashed over Alabama highway and 2 perished. First of all, the Black Hawks that have been seen all around the country, Chinooks and Ospreys doing these crazy drills, I would think with the amount that is in the air right now, and you, of course, have what people are following on flight radar, but you also have ones that are not they don't have their transponders on, and they don't have their signal on, which people are seeing. People are seeing formations of 10 and 14 of these things, but they're nothing on the radar. So that's either they're on a real mission or they're on a drill. Most likely it's a drill, but why are there so many? Around the country, we have had jets end up scrambling for these, for these octagons or whatever else. Who knows? Maybe they just told them, hey, scramble the jets, go around the block a few times, and then land. Who knows? But what I do know is that there's been an unusually large amount of sky traffic. And we've said that before because it's way more than usual. But right now, there's F-15 or there's F-35s and F-22s taking off and doing all of these crazy scrambles. So we don't know exactly what's going on with all of the other previous things mentioned, like the laser scanning Hawaii, the Russian military off the East Coast, off of the West Coast, of course, by Alaska and by Hawaii. People are starting to ask questions. And then, of course, the satellite that blew up into 85 pieces and all of the other odd things going on above us. And then Town Hall answers legal questions from the East Palestine residents. So if you didn't know, of course, there's another story that was not talked about as much as it should have been, which is the train coming off the tracks. We've been covering it since day one, but as it kind of unfolded, about by the third day, people realized that there was something absolutely wrong with what is going on there. And it said that there have been hundreds of questions of people living near the trail derailment site in East Palestine that had over a week ago. It says some of them are getting their answers answered, but there are also some that aren't. There are also many legal issues that are popping up, and most of us have no idea how to handle them. On Wednesday, a group of lawyers was joined by a real estate expert and a toxicologist to share ideas on handling some of the complex issues. It said that they explained personal injury and property damage claims, then spent an hour answering questions. So this meeting, basically, from what people are saying, they're basically saying, oh, it's going to be really hard to get anything from any of this. They're saying to go see their doctors, but then the doctors are like, well, what are we actually looking for? It says, all I know is I went to bed one day and I woke up in the middle of a toxic super site the next day. So it's like, I don't really know. I hope Norfolk Southern will do the right thing. The company, right? It says the lawyers also told the people to assume Norfolk Southern will do nothing to help them. They encouraged everyone who has a rash, breathing problem, or any medical condition to get it checked. They lifted the evacuation order. It says, I've been to the doctors, have had toxicology, ecology reports, waiting to hear back from them. So, I mean, this is a whole disruption in our entire lives, said Lori Harmon of East Palestine. A few people expressed that doctors have told them that they don't know what to test for in this situation. They were told that they could seek medical treatment in larger cities, and that might help. Basically saying, go to a smarter doctor or go to a doctor in the big city because they might know what the heck is wrong with you. All these people are now put out. They are either missing work, they have missed work, they have gone through this whole thing, and now the companies and all of the stuff that's going on, the corporate pricks that are behind this, behind these companies that just crashed, they are basically saying like, yeah, sure, show us your rash. Oh, that's cute. And then leaving them to hang. So this whole thing is a disaster, and I believe that this will end up being much, much worse than they say. Some are saying that the Ohio River was possibly contaminated, and over 5 million people end up using that for their water source. So definitely get tap water. That's why I told you not drink tap water, and I would definitely stock up on water. That is the video I did the other day, and just made sure that just because you are not in Ohio, I would highly recommend this kind of thing can happen to anybody, anywhere. Our water supplies for every city, there have been tons and tons of threats against our actual infrastructure. And I just want to point out a story that happened about 2 years ago where somebody actually hacked into the water plant of a small town. And what they did is they turned up a chemical that was already in the water that was normally harmless, and they turned it all the way up to a lethal level. Now, there was a gentleman physically there, and they have these kind of meters, and basically they said that he physically saw the meter. If he was on a lunch break, you could have had a 1,000 or 10,000 people perish because he wasn't there looking at the physical kind of detectors. So what they said is he physically saw it and he stopped it and he turned it back down. But these are the kind of events that we're looking for. Something that can be hacked and be changed to harm human life. So that is something that people need to really think about, especially regardless of what narrative you believe right now. One thing is for sure, America is not on everybody's awesome list right now. And of course, American politics and everything that's going on right here, if you look at from around the world, everybody is looking at us and laughing. And that's really sad right now. I'm proud to be American, but I'm not proud of the decisions that some of our government has been making. And I'm not proud of where everybody is going towards this, authoritarian state and forcing us to think like us, do like us, say like us, or sit in jail or sit in social jail, right? So with all of these things going on all at the same time, of course, everybody is conflicted on what's happening. I'd highly recommend, of course, make sure that you have your head on a swivel. That's cliche, but it is something that people need to be paying attention to. Right now, any of us and anybody in this community, we've been waiting for some sort of Fantastic Freddy, some sort of Pearl Harbor 2.0 to get us really drawn into this thing. And just remember, if there is a big event that happens, and some huge event happens, just remember when you get blood in your eyes and you say, I want to go to conflict with whatever country they're saying, that it's most likely, that it was made to make you feel that way. So make sure to keep that in mind. Make sure to go to marfooglenews.com. All the links are here. We're going to talk about it in depth on tonight's show, which will be in a few minutes. We're going to start our show in about 20 minutes from now at 8:20 p.m. Pacific. So make sure to join us on our sister channel, Marfoogle TV. Also, make sure to go and check out any of our affiliates. If you do want to go get yourself protection against EMP, go to marfooglenews.com/EMP to get an EMP shield. You can put in your car in less than 15 minutes and it will actually protect you and protect your car and keep it running through not only EMPs, but CMEs. And then if you do want to get extra food at a 25-year shelf life, go to marfooglenews.com/prep. That's a really great resource, and if you use the code Marfoogle, you'll get a huge discount as well. Thank you, Ilea. I appreciate that. Thanks, Math. Yep. Hey, Sophia Maria. Thank you. She's a wildflower. Dr. Science. Thank you for being here. And then, of course, everybody else that ended up supporting, I appreciate you. Pool Noodle, Kevin Smurf. What is going on? YFG. We have such a different audience over here. It's kind of funny. When we go live here, we get all of the folks that really don't have 2 hours every day to watch our show. Have you guys appreciated the daily updates? Again, I have been doing this every single day. I believe I've missed one day in the last 2 weeks. Do you guys appreciate it? Do you want these updates, especially when it's the big stuff? Are these a lot more? Are these easier for you to consume than our 2-hour live show? I'd really appreciate the feedback, and thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you that have joined me. Make sure to share this out with friends and family, and if you did find any value to it at all, please press the like button, do the normal YouTube stuff, and then, of course, comment down below what you think. All right, guys, much love, and again, I know that a lot of this stuff is distraction. At the same time, we need to cover it and then get people's reactions, see where you guys... we all have to come together and say, okay, this is BS, this is truth, this is not. That's where it's really strong. If you go to work, people are going to say this, you're not going to be able to give your true opinion about it, and then you're not going to get feedback from everybody else, and you won't know what people are really thinking. So again, this is a really good place. Look at the chat, see what they think about each one of these articles, and then keep that in mind when you're making a decision on what you are thinking right now. Either way, if you look at Davos, the WEF, and everything else, everything is about to change. And again, people need to be prepared for the worst and expect and hope for the best. Have a good night, guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. We'll see you over on Marfoogle TV, our sister channel.